Well, let's make a video. I ain't made one a long time. Let's do it. 2008 Volvo S40 with a 2.4. This is one of the easiest heads you can pull off of, in my opinion, any car. I've done many of them, and I'm just going to take you just a little step by step of how to do it. First, you got to pull your intake off. And it's 8mm bolts, flathead, unhook your map sensor, pressure sensor, your throttle body right here. It's plugged down there, it unplugs, and then there's a hose at the back for your evap. You unplug all that, and this should come up. So let's get it off there. Now that we got the intake off, be careful not to drop anything down in here. I'd recommend you putting tape over this. It's just cautionary. Make sure you don't drop anything in there. If you're only doing an intake gasket or spark plugs or whatnot, if you're pulling the head off, it really doesn't matter if you drop anything in there. You're going to be getting it off anyway. Next, we're going to pull the camshaft sensor, all 5 coils. The cover right here, there's supposed to be another cover. This car doesn't have it. And go from there. All right, real quick, I do take the oil caps off these. I'm pulling the head cover off, or a cam cover off. It's not a valve cover. It's a cam carrier, basically. But anyway, real quick, once you move your battery, I forgot to mention that earlier. But once you get everything unhooked right here, I always leave it hooked up and lay it over. But the vacuum hose is here. This is the vacuum pump. It's electric. To unhook that, you'll have to push this green pin in. Push it in really tight and slip it out. As far as how to release this hose, you'll push in, pull back on the red tab, and pull it out. If you don't do that, it will not release. Okay, now we can take our coolant hose loose, which is down here. It's got a little green tab on it. Again, you'll push forward, squeeze the tab, and it should come out. Let's see here. Just like that. You push forward, pull the tabs in, down, squeeze, pull it out. We got our purge valve here moved out of the way. We're going to move this bracket out of the way. 8mm on the fuel line. 8mm on the fuel line. Take this, I think it's a T20. Do not lose this clip behind here. We'll pull that out and unhook the injectors. Lay the harness over to the side. And I'll probably leave the fuel rail because I'm going to pull the intake out with the head. I'm about to show y'all how to remove this box. A lot of people don't know how to remove it, and it is a bitch at times. Let's do it. Now we got all this out of the way. When y'all move the harness over, be careful not to pull too tight. There's a coolant temp sensor right there you must unplug. Leave the crank sensor plugged in, but do not pull this wire. Okay, it's a twisted wire. It's twisted to keep out electrical interference, but besides the point, it's there. You can leave it plugged in. Now we'll move this bracket out of the way, undo that fuel line, yes, I will have to pull the fuel rail out. I forgot about that. We're going to have to pull that out to get the fuel line tucked over to the side. Let's go. Alright, real quick on the fuel rail. There's an 8 here and an 8mm here. You'll just wiggle her up a little bit. Just wiggle, don't go yanking the hell out of it. Let's see, it's hard to do this one-handed, but we'll just wiggle her up. The fuel clip here that holds the fuel line on, it will unclip and fucking shit, drop down in there. That's okay. But there's your fuel rail. Now you can opt to just leave it hooked up. I'll probably unhook it. But if you do unhook the line, cover the line. Don't let anything get in there, and don't let anything get in the fuel rail. You could be in some trouble. Now that clip is down there, but I'm pulling the head off of this anyway. So this is your PCV vent. You can give her a good tug, and she usually come out, especially if they're not brittle. A lot of times these will break, and they'll throw oil all over the place right here. You'll see smoke come up, and you'll lose oil. So this is one of the reasons you get a lot of oil all over your engine on the Volvos. This is variable valve timing for the intake cam, which is right here. You'll know that by seeing an intake camshaft position sensor. On the front of the intake camshaft, you'll see this phaser and a solenoid here, or actuator. If it had dual variable valve timing, there'd be 2 of these. There'd also be a camshaft sensor here to let it know if it's doing its job properly and adjusting it and seeing where it's at. Alright, to get the air box off, we're going to, this is what I usually do. I'll undo the motor mount here. The car is in park. Undo the motor mount. Push the car back a little bit with your knee, and it will actually move the engine back. That'll give you enough room to grab this box and wiggle her out. And don't just go off wiggling it right immediately. There's a computer here. 2008 they have a special tool that goes in there to unlock this computer. You can do it with a flathead screwdriver. 2009 and above, they had a red clip that was very easy to just pry up, and it would push the connector out and you're done. Yeah, mass airflow sensor right here, we're going to unplug. So let me get this out and be right back. Now that we got the motor mount loose, I'll pull this bracket out. This bracket is so that if that motor mount breaks or fails, the motor can't come up, so it can only come up so high to hit this bracket. So if you don't put this bracket on and that motor mount fails, comes loose, you'll have your motor, I don't know if it'll hit the hood or not, but yeah. So now we need to move the motor forward. How am I going to do that? I'm going to grab the car somewhere and I'm going to pull back and then push forward on it. Back and forward. Look at the motor move back. See that? Boom. As you can see, my holes disappeared. And I could grab the car and pull the motor. I can grab the car forward. Look, there's my holes again. Watch again. Again, the car's in park. And I keep bouncing back. Boom. Boom. There we go. That gives me enough room to wiggle this box out. I can't hold the camera and show y'all how to do the computer. I'm gonna do the best I can, but let's go ahead and finish getting it prepped, ready for this to come out. On second thought, I'm gonna try something different. Usually I move this box out of the way. I've noticed that the motor pushed back. Of course, we're gonna have to put a jack underneath the motor with a block of wood at the very front of the motor, as close as you can get it, to take this motor mount right here out, because it's actually attached to the head. I think I can actually leave the airbox in the car. I usually don't, but I'm 100% sure that I can do that. So I'm gonna leave this airbox in there. I'm gonna go ahead and take this bracket right here out. I'm just gonna roll the belt off. Just roll it off. Usually I'll take all the spark plugs out, measure the piston height, make sure they're all somewhat down, and then take the belt off. Usually the cams don't move so much because of the inline 5. So you got 5 sets of valves pushing against that cam, and it kind of holds it in place. If it had 4, it could bloop, spring back. And then 2, like on a Subaru, they'll really spring back on you. So, but these really don't spring back that much. So I'm gonna roll the belt off there. I don't know if I can do it holding the camera. I can't. My fingertips won't grab it. A lot of people say you can't do this. And I've done so many Volvos and Saabs. Now Saabs are timing chain engines. So let's see if I don't know. It's coming, but damn, my fingertips are hurting. Anyway, I'll roll it off there in a second. Let me get it off there. We're going to evenly loosen. They make a tool that goes in here, and these spark plug holes screws down in threads. It's a T-bar. It sits there and holds this cam carrier down. I can't tell you how many Volvos without ever having that tool. So I evenly loosen all these bolts up. I pry up gently, loosen, gently pry up, gently loosen, and eventually comes right out. So let me get to that stage and we'll go from there. Once you got all the screws somewhat loose, you want to be careful where you pry in here. Do not just get in there and start prying. You'll cause a leak, damage the aluminum. But I'll just see, she's loose right there, loose right there. And the back's loose too. I'll just go ahead and do this one hand. All the bolts are loose. They'll kick your ass if you leave one. And we'll just there and do a little prying here and there. Boom, boom, boom. See, I rolled the belt off. And let's see if we can. That's what I do this with. Let's see if I can do. If I can put the camera somewhere. I can't. Shit, be back. Once you got your head cover out, your cam's out, this is the important part. These buckets are not hydraulic, okay? They got numbers on the bottom of them. They're set at a certain lash, okay? So if you have an engine that's overheated and the head's been shaved, You might not have a valve that's leaking, but you might, depending on how bad it's warped. But I always flip the head on its side, fill the cylinder, the intake ports with brake clean, and see if anything's seeping out. If it don't, I go to the next side, which is exhaust. So you do not take this head off, flip it upside down, start looking for head gasket failure, cracks. Do not do that. It will ruin your day. Machine shop's going to bust your ass on a bill. So do it this way. I've made this I think it's a 1x6, and I've taken a bit like this, okay, and I don't remember what you call them bits. And here is the intake number 5, last bucket, and it will push right down in there, and it will not hurt it. Don't do this. Don't do what I'm doing. Maybe with one above a soft surface. I trust this. I've never had one come out, and it has fallen before. Exhaust, intake, front. Every one of these is for all these buckets. If you don't have this, don't be alarmed. Brake clean it and put 10. Put number 10 or I-10. Don't get a punch and start punching on this damn thing. Don't be stupid. If that don't work, then I guess put it in a Ziploc bag and then just mark 10 exhaust, 9 exhaust, 8 exhaust, 10 intake, 9 intake, 10 exhaust, 9 exhaust. Just make sure you don't mix them up. That's what I'm getting at. To get them out, sometimes you can get your fingers on there and wiggle them out. It's a good sign if they just wiggle out. If they're really hard, you might want to start checking to see if it's sticking. This engine had a blowed head gasket. She fried it, so that's what happened to it. And I just did one last week. So I'm going to the Philippines, and I wasn't going to do this job, but hey, money's money, right? Time to have some fun. All right, well, let's keep going. All right, here we go. We got all of our buckets out, every one of them. Take your nice little magnet. If you can't get them with your fingers, this is a lot faster, but hey, sometimes people ain't got magnets. It's a little complicated at times. But anyway, this right here, if you notice these lines here, that's where your oil flows through as well. This flows through there, goes through the cover, and comes out them little holes. You see that hole right there? Boom. There's holes there and holes there. Also feeds the variable valve timing actuator, which is right there. This is a dummy hole. Do not forget to replace your seals right there. And you have spark plug tube seals. That's what those look like. I use a Volkswagen sealant. I'll show you all a picture of it here in just a second. And I use it for my TSIs. It's actually made for a Volkswagen, and it's 0 tolerance. There's no gasket there. It's silicone, and this stuff works amazing. It's very expensive though, but I'll give you all part number in a second. Now we're just going to work on getting the exhaust back there loose. Usually I just unbolt it back there, move the O2 sensor because it's blocking one of the exhaust bolts, and undo the exhaust from the manifold, undo the head, and just pick the head up all as one unit. If you're by yourself, sometimes it's a little hard, but it can be done. So let me work on that and get back to you. Okay, let's talk about jacking this car. So I've got it jacked up right there on that mount. Now right beside it is a torque screw, or the bolt that holds that torque mount. If your parking brake is not on, depending on the surface of the jack, as you jack the car up, if the car is hard to roll, or if you got a rear tire sticking or whatnot, or a brake sticking, the jack is going to go under the car as you jack it up. When you let the jack down, the jack's going to move back. Okay? If the jack is on a rough surface and the tires of this car is on a smooth surface and whatnot, and tires are got air in them, they're taller, they can go over a smaller place, a rock or whatnot, really easy, a lot easier than a jack can. The car is going to move back as you let it down. So when you set your jack stands, if you got the car way up in the air and the jack stands are 2 or 3 inches below the car itself, when you let that jack down, depending on how high you got that angle of that jack, as the jack goes down, it pushes the car back, and your jack stand won't be where you set it. So apply the brake, put the parking brake on. I don't usually. I got my jack stands. The way I set them up, let me show you how I did them. So, shit, I can't get mine out. I've got the car down a little bit. What was that? Anyway, I'll set my jack height, and then I'll slip the jack back. I'll slide it all the way back until it gets where I want it on the pinch rail. Okay, it's not on the plastic, so y'all don't hate on that. And then I'll let the jack down, and I should be right where I want it to be. Boom. Just like that. Don't get under a car without a jack stand. Okay. Don't hate on my little carport. It's a mess. I've got a big shop, but it's got a lot of stuff in it right now, so got a lot of stuff to do. And this is the only area I could do it for a big storm that's going to be coming soon. All right, so once you got your jack stand set, let's get underneath it and get the exhaust undone. And we'll support the block of the car so we can take these motor mounts loose. These are 15s. Okay, bada boom, bada bang, blang bang. These are 15s as well, these bolts that sit here. You don't really need a lot of tools to do this. You need a torque set. Mine's dirty, but boom. And then metric, some wrenches and whatnot. Cordless impact does really good. So, maybe time to replace the motor mount, eh? All right, let's get to it. Now that y'all have joined me under the car, got a little bit of oil leak, and that was from me pulling the cover off the head. We'll just kind of wipe any oil driplets that's going to drop on us, because I don't know about y'all, but if oil drops on me, I am instantly pissed off. I have anger issues. So let's look and see what we got here. That's our manifold. All right, yeah, good. And this is where we're hunting for. There's 2 bolts there, and 2 on that side. They're nuts, actually, and they look rusted as fuck. Holy shit, Batman. I don't think we're doing that. Nope, the fuck are you. I think what I'm going to do is, there's enough wiggle room on this exhaust. I'm going to, those are rusted pretty bad too. I don't like rusted shit, fuck that. I've got plenty of experience and I'm not doing it. So, we're just gonna undo the manifold from the head, from up top. We'll move this shield out of the way, and I'm gonna leave the exhaust on it. So, we're gonna undo that and pull the head off. Let's do it. All right, to get this shield off, where's it at? Right here. There is 2 10mm bolts here, and you're gonna have these bolts have these little springs on them, and they bolt in this way, so they don't go down. So if you're hunting for them, I don't know if you can see back in there. I don't know if I can get the camera back in there, but they're gonna be bolting into these little holes somewhere, right there. Right there, and there's another one back here somewhere. So once you get that off, we're gonna go ahead and take the manifold loose. It's not as hard as you think it is. It is inline 5. You got a little bit, you know, some nuts back there, but we'll get all those loose. And like I said, before they go on, put some anti-seize on them. I put anti-seize on anything that's hot before I put it back on. All right, let's do it. Okay, we got the exhaust manifold undone, and we got it moved out of the way. Now, putting the head back on, you got to be careful, because when you're putting the head, it's aluminum, so is the block. You go in there and start throwing shit on there and be rough with it, you scar it up, and then you're having a bad day again. Also, note to self, cover your oil port. Even though you're pulling the head off, something could fall down in there and go on down into the oil channel. When you crank the car up, oil pressure comes up, pushes debris up through there, and it either gets hung somewhere in your cam or variable valve time and get somewhere it shouldn't be. So now we're just going to pull our mount loose and undo the bolts for the head, which are 14mm, and then we'll just pick the head up and pull it out and take the intake off of it, take the front mount off of the head. Anything that may get broke at the machine shop we'll take off and send it out. Alright, there's 2 bolts actually that hold this head on. There's a front cover, it's got a bolt. Let's see, where's it at? Ah, right here. There's a bolt hole there and it fits here, and it'll stop you from pulling the head off. And there's a 10mm right here for this back shield for the time belt. It's got to come off. So once you get that off, the head will come straight up. Ain't that right?
Yep.
Oh, damn, too soon, Junior. Alright, I got a helping hand, so let's see if we can do this.
If you didn't get that out, you ain't gonna get it out.
That's right.
Hey, what the fuck?
What is it? What?
Oh no, I had my finger in it. Keep pinching my
Oh, there it is. There it is. Got it. You ready? Here, just sit it over here on the floor.
Yeah.
We'll sit it down gently. Gently like. This is a no-no, but we're going to do it anyway. Alright.
Oh, that's what's holding my
Yeah,
finger.
got your finger there, didn't it? So this is our old Velcro gasket. Alright. Alright.
That's the only one I see, buddy.
Yeah. So this is your bolts that hold your manifold on there. See, we left the manifold and we left the air box. So really, you only had to get underneath it to do nothing. You'll have to get underneath to take this tire off and get access to your timing mark when you go to set this all back up. But yep, she's off. Time to go to the machine shop. Okay, last part. Once we got the intake off the head, I set the head outside. It's going to the machine shop, like I said earlier. There's a port right here. Now I just put some electrical tape over it. I put some brake clean, just clean it so the tape would stick. That's all I had at the moment. This is where your oil pressure comes up to your head. Don't drop anything in there. So immediately after you move your head, wipe this clean a little bit. Take your rag and wipe outwards so you don't get anything in there. If you do see anything in there, try to fish it out with a pick. Put some tape over it. Don't remove it until you get ready to put your head gasket on. Unless it's real bad dirty, like this is clean, I'm okay with this. If your fingernail, that's your best tool, that fingernail. If you can feel something, get it off. I do feel a little bit right there. But I will brake clean all the holes out and soak my head bolts in assembly lube and the threads and the head of the bolts. And I'll put some around the head where the bolt goes down into the head. I'll put some around there so we get a good torque reading and start putting her back together. Also, this is your PCV trap. These are bad about leaking. You'll hear them whistle, and they'll be whistling through this little hole right here. You can always put your hand down in there and go bloop. And if it whistle stops, you got a bad valve. Be sure when you put your head on, which I'll show y'all when I put it on, you line up this hole with this port. Okay? Probably shouldn't have thrown it down like that, but I did. I don't think we're gonna hurt anything. But anyway, that's all for today. And we'll put her back together when it gets back from the machine shop. Y'all have a good one. Okay, this is the sealer that I use on the Volvo head caps, or cam cover, cam bridge, however y'all want to call it. Some people call it valve cover, whatever. But this is the stuff I use to go around the cover. And you gotta clean this up really good. But once you get cleaned up, you can put you a bead of that around there. Don't put too much and don't go fucking crazy like a lot of rednecks do. The more you put, doesn't mean it's not gonna leak. Go down in your oil system, get down in there in that sump, plug it up, lose oil pressure, ruin your shit. Oh, got some rain coming, but anyway, again, that's the number.